Welcome back to another episode of the Cruise Conversations podcast. I'm Frank.
And I'm Michael.
And today's episode is episode number 69, and we're interviewing Ian and Claire, the high-flying kite family, on their recent Norway Fjord cruise on board the P&O Iona. Let's jump into it. All right, well, as we mentioned at the top, today we've got Ian and Claire from the UK on our podcast. We actually met Ian and Claire through Instagram. They were listeners of ours, so make sure you go give them a follow. You can find them on Instagram and social media at the High Flying Kite Family. But Ian and Claire have been listening to the podcast for a while, and they reached out. They were excited to come on and talk about a cruise line that we really haven't talked much about, which is P&O. So first of all, Ian and Claire, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
What's really cool about Ian and Claire when we met them on the phone last week is that they're big travelers, and we have a lot of cruise people on this podcast. We talk a lot about cruising and like what cruising is all about, but I think what I like about you guys and the energy that you're going to bring to this episode is that you guys are big travelers. So you use cruising more of like an avenue to kind of see new places. You've got a family, so we're going to talk a lot about what it's like cruising with kids, which we're really, really excited about. But before we get into that, clearly you guys like to travel. We talked about that already, but what about traveling, really excites you? What keeps you kind of traveling? What's kind of like your travel philosophy, if you will?
Thanks for having us on the podcast. We're really excited to talk to you, and we loved listening to you earlier this year, but really we love exploring new places, showing our kids the world, rather than just being in a classroom at school. And I don't know.
We love seeing new places, and our favourite bit is getting right into local life.
Yeah.
Rather than doing we do love the tourist attractions, but we really love just falling upon a town and they've got a carnival that day, or seeing how the locals live and going to all the places that the locals go to. That's our favourite, sort of the things that you don't plan for. That's our favourite bit.
Yeah.
And talking to the locals, which we'll talk to you more about when we go to talk about our excursions. We spoke to locals that helped us out a lot on one of the excursions.
And everyone's always so friendly. They're really, everyone has been so nice, all the locals in every country. I don't think we've ever had touch wood, we've never had a bad experience yet, which is why we're always so comfortable taking our family. We've got 3 kids. We've got a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. Awesome. And our 9-year-old, she's been to over 34 countries. So
that is crazy.
Since she was a baby.
Yeah, since she was a kid.
So we sort of drag them around everywhere because we love travelling.
Yeah.
Something we love to do. We love to share it with them.
Clearly, they love to travel too. If she's been to 34 countries, she's not. That is insane.
She doesn't get much choice. Although now we're trying to include them into the decision making and stuff like that, so they get to choose and sort of do the research as well.
That's awesome. So you've been to a lot of cool places. Tell us, what is your favorite trip you've ever taken as a family? Maybe you can give a quick synopsis as to why it was your favorite.
Well, it's so hard because we've done so many different trips. For a long time, we weren't sure what our favorite holiday vacation was. We've tried camping, we've done motorhoming, we've done all-inclusive holidays, cruising now, and probably our highlight was we went motorhoming across Canada for 2 weeks.
3
Wow.
weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. And we just loved it. It was absolutely brilliant.
It was
just the freedom it gave us. And we just want to see, every time we go to a country, we're we've got to go back and see more of that country, or we want to go back. We always want to go and explore more. Egypt.
Yeah, we've been to it. We took them to Egypt just after our first flight after COVID. When we were starting allowed to be travel, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're going to Egypt," and we went all inclusive. And then this was the thing: we booked a flight from Hurghada to Cairo, and we got on a plane at 5 a.m. So we were actually at the pyramids by 7:30 in the morning with 3 kids.
Man.
And we had the whole place to ourselves at 7:30, which was amazing. And again, learning, the kids at that age, they came out and they knew by the end of it who Tutankhamun was, which they didn't know before.
Yeah.
And they're learning about pyramids at school.
That's awesome.
And then
experience.
Another one for us really is Australia. We backpacked through Australia, and then we decided to.
This is before kids.
Before
we didn't do
kids.
this with kids.
Okay.
And then,
We would, wouldn't we?
and then we ended up emigrating there for a while, and we got married out there.
Oh, wow.
And we just want to go back and take the kids to show them because it's such a great country.
Yeah, we love Australia.
So that holds a big place in our heart.
Question for you guys, because we don't have kids yet, obviously. What is like the ideal? So if you, let's say we have kids, in the next year, whatever. So like, what is the best time to travel? My wife and I keep getting into this conversation as we're like starting to plan ahead, talk about future trips. We got Alaska cruise. We want to go to Europe. Like, is there like a sweet spot and like maybe some times where you should avoid traveling with like young kids? Like, what are your recommendations on that?
There is, like, when they're babies, that's people. It feels hard because you're so exhausted, but that's actually the easiest because they don't have an opinion. They just sit and funny.
They can't move on a plane or anything like that. They're just sitting
under one is actually quite easy.
But
they can't crawl away at that age.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll always get people say to you as well, they won't remember that trip. They won't remember this. But again, you read them a book every day. They won't remember it to start with. But if you keep doing it, they then start to remember. And it's the same with travelling. So just do it. And just be brave. Just go and do it. Everyone was saying, why do you want to take one? And then now we've got three. And they're like, why do you still want to do it with three? Just do it. Just get over the fear. And if you love it, you can do it. Just the same with you guys. If you want to cruise with a baby, go and do it.
Some trips have been like it's hard when they're probably until about 4. They're quite hard work. There's some trips we've been on where I'm like, I get back from holiday and feel like I need a holiday. Work on holiday because you're just parenting in another country. It doesn't, none of the daily routine stops. So it is quite hard work, but for us it's worth it. If we're going to be parenting here, I'd rather be seeing something amazing,
right. Exactly,
showing them something, and having a great experience at the same time. So I would probably say 4 is the sweet spot. 4
okay. All right.
Well, yeah, that's some good advice for us.
I know.
We got some time.
Yeah, we got a little bit of time, but that's awesome. Thank you guys for giving us the tips.
So let's kind of pivot to cruising here a little now. How many cruises have y'all been on as a family?
We've been on 2 as a family, and they were both this year. We did one MSC Seascape. We went around the Caribbean earlier this year around Easter time, and then we've just got back from P&O Iona, going to Norway, or the Norwegian Fjords. But as a teenager, I did 2 cruises, so I sort of got a feel of it. But obviously, it's very different being a teenager compared to being a parent. But I think I knew that we would love cruising from my experience of going on cruising when I was younger.
Yeah.
And we've always found it hard to find the perfect holiday. Like we want to see stuff, but the kids want to be sort of all inclusive in the pool and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But obviously with cruising, it was my first time in March as well. So, but with it, we sort of instantly fell in love with it because it gives us the best of both. We get to explore the new destination and do a bit of that, and we also get a bit of like the luxury of getting back on the ship and having the pools and the hot tubs and stuff. That's what they're really into. That's what they're really into.
It suits the whole family.
So it suits us quite well. So cruising is lovely. And it was also my parents' first time as well because they came. We actually went on the cruise in March for my dad's 80th birthday.
Okay.
So they were new to it as well, so they loved it too.
That's awesome.
They've talked about cruising for years.
Yeah.
Like your mum's been wanting to cruise for about 10 years, and she's just been a bit scared, I suppose. And then I think we just helped them because we when we travel, because we do it so much, if anyone comes with us, they're like, oh, you know what you're doing, so we'll come with you.
They get us to book it and stuff like that. So
they came and it was great. They loved it, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
and it's great for every generation. I think cruising. That's what appeals to us. There is something for everyone on the ship and off the ship. So yeah, we loved it.
No, that's great. I mean, it really is a trip for, the entire family, right? And that's the great thing about cruising. Like you said, it's very easy. You get to see a lot of really cool places, and it's a budget-friendly kind of vacation. So we're really excited to kind of dive into your Norway Fjords cruise. This, again, was with P&O, which is a cruise line that we're pretty new to, so we're excited to hear about that. This one was 7 nights sailing from Southampton. And obviously you guys are from the UK. So we're, we're excited to hear about how that was in terms of traveling to the port. So why don't you guys kind of give us a little bit of an overview on the embarkation process? How was it getting to Southampton?
Yeah. We live about an hour north of London, pretty much the most furthest point inland from sea here in the UK. So
took us about 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, 2 hours roughly. It's round about 95 miles from us to get to Southampton. So you booked a car park and we just sort of went down, dropped the car off, and got an Uber. But unfortunately, that day there was a gay pride festival going on. There was the first football game of the season, soccer to you guys. So there was a lot of.
There's a bridge closed.
There was a couple of bridges closed to the port. So it actually we were late for our embarking time by one hour. But yeah, I mean, as soon as we arrived at the terminal, ocean terminal, it was all signposted, nice and clear where we dropped our luggage. We dropped it off on the deck the deck number that we were staying on, and we pretty much cruised through the terminal.
Cruise, yeah, sailed on in.
Yeah,
no, it was really so smooth. It was like we always say, like, oh, if only airports could be this easy. It was just. And
because we had kids, also they sent us through the priority lane too. Yeah. So there's
loads of staff around to help. Like, it was just really well managed, and we found the same in Miami when we got on Seascape there. It was just so easy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
really easy.
A breeze.
All right, so you're on board now. You got through security. You dropped off your bags. What were the first things y'all did when you got on board the P&O Iona?
We had to go to our muster station. I think we were told that almost instantly. As soon as we got on, it was, right, your muster station G, go here, and go and do that. And I said, oh, should we go for lunch? But the kids are starving. She was like, just go and get that done and then go for lunch. And luckily it was on the same deck. So we just got in a lift, elevator. And then that was it. We just had to scan
our card. It wasn't like on the MSC when we got on there and we had to go down to the theatre, watch a video and all that. We just gave them that, and then they said, go and watch the video in your room once you get back to your room. So that was pretty much really a breeze.
Then we went for lunch. Didn't we? So that was nice. And then just started exploring the ship after that.
And we went to our room, did a bit of unpacking, and then carried on exploring.
No, it sounds very similar to our experience. And, like you said, Miami, Port Canaveral, they've got it down to a science. Like, we always ask this question of, like, how was it getting on board? Because back in the day, it really was a challenge and could take some time, but they've really automated the process with a lot of the pre-questionnaires that you do. You fill out everything kind of online or on the app, and it's like so smooth.
Yeah.
Usually it's like, within 30 minutes, you go from the car to getting on board, and it's like you said, I wish airports were like that. It just takes so much longer to go through an airport. But for those that are listening that may not have heard of P&O, it's actually a Carnival Corporation brand. So similar to like how Royal owns Celebrity and Silversea and all of those, Carnival actually owns P&O, and the ship is actually technically part of the same class as like the Carnival Celebration, the Mardi Gras. From a structural standpoint, obviously there's a lot of differences in the layout, but the actual ship in its size and the number of decks and all that, I believe, is the exact same. Now, the way that they've structured it again and the features and all of that, you would not really tell unless you kind of looked at the history of this class. So a lot of differences, and we're kind of excited to talk about that. So you said you got some lunch on the ship, you did your muster station, you talked a little bit about your room, but what kind of room did you end up booking on this cruise? And what did you think of the room on board?
So we booked a balcony room because we were a little bit worried how we'd feel in a inside room. Like we just thought it might be a bit claustrophobic. I did an inside room as a teenager, and I remember it just being quite small, maybe. And obviously with 4 people, so we have, because there's 7 of us traveling all together as a family of 5, we can't book one cabin. So that was great that Ian's parents came along with us, because it meant one of our children could sleep with them. When we were on the MSC Seascape, we were like 4 or 5 rooms away from each other. So when we booked Iona, we were hoping to get connecting rooms, but it ended up not being connecting. It was the balconies could connect, but they didn't open the patio door or whatever it was, which was a shame, but it's fine. We were next door. It was fine. So we booked next door rooms, balcony rooms, and the rooms are great. Like they double bed for the adults, and then the sofa turned into bunk beds with the top bunk coming down from the ceiling. And our cabin steward put that back to a sofa every day and then set it up as a bunk bed every night. And
Wow.
you know, the work that must be involved in having to put that away in God knows how many rooms is quite immense. Whereas on the MSC ship we went on, it stayed up as a bunk bed the whole time. Whereas it just gives you so much more space when it's a sofa. So we really appreciated that. That was a really nice touch that they did that. It just gives you more space, especially being 4 in a cabin. It can get quite tight, can't it?
Yeah. It was, I mean, in fact, it was actually seemed a little bigger than when we were on MSC Seascape. To be fair, the bathroom especially was a little bit bigger than MSC Seascape, which was nice because on the Seascape it was a little bit tight. But other than that, it was great.
And one of my friends had done this cruise, and she said, if you're going to have a balcony on any cruise, you want to have a balcony on the Norwegian Fjords.
Oh, yeah.
And she was right. Waking up and being able to open your curtains and just be pulling into a fjord was just amazing.
Yeah.
Having a morning coffee on your balcony, watching sailing slowly into a fjord was just stunning.
Oh,
and our nephew and his soon-to-be wife, they've been on Iona earlier this year, actually. Not on the Fjords trip, but Iona sailed somewhere else, and they said it was a great ship. So we, just loved getting on the ship and seeing what it was all about.
Yeah, so speaking of that, so like you said, you did your muster, you stopped by your room. What were kind of like your first impressions when you kind of just started wandering around the ship? And kind of what did y'all do for sail away?
Well, we watched some YouTube videos of the ship and sort of tried to see what we might expect. It definitely wasn't as glitzy as the MSC when you get on. When we went in on the MSC, they gave us a big shout out when we walked on and stuff like that. But there was nothing like this on the P&O.
I just think we didn't feel quite special. Maybe when we got on, like there wasn't this big like you've arrived, and everyone clapping. It was just sort of great. You're here, go here, go here, and it was just felt a little bit rushed, maybe, and not quite as. The impression wasn't quite as sparkly as we've had before.
It wasn't as like family friendly, did you feel? Or you kind of just felt like more maybe an adult? Is that what it was?
Maybe, yeah. I think it's more British, actually.
Yeah,
I think it was
it's just because
it's
British.
I think beforehand, I do think it felt more American and a little bit like excited and over the top. And whereas this, just generally, the ship is British, very reserved. It just felt a little bit, maybe it was that.
Yeah, maybe.
So for sail away, the kids had been saying as soon as we got on the ship, we want to go in a hot tub, we want to go in a jacuzzi. So we were like, right, let's go and do that, get that done for them. So the 3 kids went in a jacuzzi, we got a drink.
We had drinks,
and just stood outside the jacuzzi keeping an eye on them. And there was a busker going on, so like a guitarist singing, where you could just shout songs at him and he would just play them, which was brilliant. So we really enjoyed listening to that. His name
George, his name is
George the Busker. I think he's on Instagram as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we really enjoyed that, didn't we?
Yeah. It was, and we were the last to sail out, so we watched all the other ships sail by first for their sail away, and then we just it was very chilled out. It wasn't there was no like staff dancing or a DJ or anything like that. There might have been inside in the Sky Dome or something like that, but not on the back. But
we were at the back of the ship, and it was a nice sunny day, so everyone was just sort of chilling out, enjoying the weather, having drinks.
And when it's sunny in the UK, you've got to make the most of it.
Yeah.
Great British weather.
Yeah, doesn't happen a lot.
Not knowing that much about the Southampton port, how many other ships? I know you said you were the last to sail out. How many other ships do you think were there with you?
3 or 4, maybe?
Yeah, there was definitely an MSC ship there.
Virtuosa was there.
I think there was another P&O ship there, and possibly another 1 or 2.
3 or 4,
altogether.
So we watched them all sail off, and everyone was waving at each other on the ships, which was nice. And then it was our turn, and it was even cool watching the ship being turned around, and all that whole experience. We're moving.
Yeah.
It's fun. The kids love it.
In America, there was some sort of storm, and it had just blown over to the UK. So as we were sailing on our sea day, it was a bit choppy, the water, but
it was all right.
It was fine.
It sounds like you guys got to get a hot tub at your house for your kids, Ian, Claire.
Yeah, maybe.
They would love it.
They would love it, but it's too much. If they pay for it, yeah.
It's because of the running.
The running costs are too high.
Too much for Ian. But we have hired them in the past for birthday parties and things. They just love it. But I think it's one of those, if we had one, they wouldn't use it. It's because it's not there.
It's because it's a luxury.
Yeah.
All right, so you were on board, like you said. You got on your first stop. We're going to start going through all of the stops that you guys experience on board your 7-night Norwegian Fjord cruise. Obviously, this is one that I've been eyeballing, so I'm over here taking notes. I'm probably going to have to rewatch this episode because my wife and I have been talking about getting over there and doing literally the exact same itinerary, so I'm excited to hear about this. But your first stop on day 2 was, I want to say Stavanger. Is that how you pronounce it?
Stavanger.
Stavanger. All right. Stavanger.
Yeah.
I got to work on my pronunciation. So which it looks
going to be tricky.
these are going to be some hard ones, so bear with me on that. But it sounds like this was a really unique port with a lot of things to do. What did you guys end up doing at this port?
Yeah, well, this was a port that we really wanted. Again,
so excited.
we researched it, so we always research stuff when we go on our trip. So we researched it, and we wanted to see the town itself. And there was a fair few excursions you could do on your own, or book your own, or with P&O. But because my parents were there, so they took our kids to the chocolate factory, which they loved. And
but that could have been a guided tour.
That could be
excursion.
a tour, an excursion on P&O, but they just went on their own. And
it's like 5-minute walk. So a lot of when we'd been on the Facebook group in advance, which I'd recommend joining if you ever if before a cruise, you get so much information on a Facebook group. A lot of people have said, don't book the one through P&O. It's a 5-minute walk. You can just turn up. You can go on the chocolate factory website and book a tour, which we hadn't done. So they just ended up just going for a look, but they really enjoyed that.
Yeah, they really enjoyed that
chocolate, so they loved it.
And we ended up going to Pulpit Rock, which, again, a P&O excursion, I think it was roughly about 130 to 140 pounds per person.
Wow.
And we'd seen on the group not to book through that, because all that they were saying, it was just for a coach to the base of Pulpit Rock, and that sounded like a lot of money. So we didn't get off the boat straight away when you could. And then, so we got an Uber to Pulpit Rock base, which is about a 55-minute car journey from the port.
And it only cost us £80, like for the two of us to get there on Uber, and then obviously get back. But so we saved a bunch of money there, and it meant we were free to go when we wanted, come back when we wanted, which, with an excursion you just don't get. So that worked well for us. Yeah, it worked well for us. And then we, again, watching YouTube, we saw that the average time to climb the rock up to the top of Pulpit Rock was about 2 hours. So we sort of said to ourselves, let's try and do it in an hour and a half up to the top, which is what we did.
Wow.
Like, we're not hikers.
We're not hikers.
This video of hiking up Pulpit Rock, and you're climbing over boulders, you're going over like some quite slippery surfaces. It wasn't just like a nice hike on a path. It was quite a difficult hike, but it was brilliant.
Yeah,
wasn't
it was amazing. And then the views at the top were amazing.
Yeah.
But obviously there's crowds up there. So we spent about half an hour to 45 minutes at the top, didn't we? Just had some lunch and
then went back
taking in the views, and then we went back down. And then we actually met another guy at the top, and he was on the P&O excursion, but we got back down about...
Oh, should we say how we met him?
Oh, yeah.
So on the edge of the rock, there's a long queue of people waiting their turn to then sit or stand right at the edge of the rock, and someone take a photo of them. So he was on his own, so he asked the person behind him to take their photo. And I just happened to be on another angle, and I was like, that man is sitting on the edge of the rock with his legs dangling off the rock. I was like, I'm going to take this. Oh, my God. And then as we were about to leave, he walked past me, and he had a bright orange anorak on, so I couldn't miss him. And I was like, I've got a picture of you if you want it. I've got a really good shot of you dangling off it. And so I sent it over Bluetooth, I think. I just sent it over. And then we ended up walking down with him the whole time, chatting. And he was from the UK, and we had a really lovely talk with him. And he was on our ship, so we ended up bumping into him a couple of times.
Yeah.
But he was on the excursion.
He'd paid the £130 or whatever, and he was like, I can't get back till like 4 o'clock when the ship, you have to be on the ship by 4:30. And he was like, how are you guys getting back? And we was like, we're probably just going to get an Uber back. And he was like, can I jump in with you guys? And we was like, yeah. We was like, yeah, fine, no worries. But you've already booked for the bus. So we were actually, again, we got back down within an hour and a half. And this is where we bumped into Norwegian locals. This is part of us liking. We couldn't get an Uber because Ubers don't actually go. They don't want to drive there and wait for people to come down. So we was like, what we're going to do? So we ended up speaking to a local, and he was like, hold on, I'll get the bus times up for you. And he had a look, very nice for helping us out. And he said, go and get that bus. It's leaving in 5 minutes, the 2 o'clock bus. So we actually walked over to the bus.
Asked the driver if we could we said, we don't have a ticket, but can we come on and I'll buy a ticket as I'm on there? And that's fine. Here's the link. It's just so.
Yeah.
So this was a public bus. This wasn't the cruise line bus. This was like a public transit.
This is just a public bus. Yeah. Okay. So again, speaking to the locals really helps, and the Norwegians are so polite and kind, so that helps us out. And again, we were back in the town by 3, so it meant we had a good hour of exploring the Stavanger town, which was an amazing.
I remember being a bit like, I've just done like a 4-hour hike. You want me to now look around the town?
Were you guys nervous when you got to the top? I mean, I've seen the videos of this rock, and it looks like it's kind of gonna fall over. Like it literally doesn't look like it's hanging on by much. Were you ever nervous when you were at the top or when you were doing your hike, or were you like, nah, there's all these people, if we go down with everyone else kind of thing?
Not quite that.
No,
we were surprised there were no railings or no barrier. Yeah. There's nothing, and I'm sure in 10 years it's going to be very safe and but some of the way up there we were like, where's the rope? Where's the there's no safety barriers, and even at the top people fall off. It does happen. I think we googled how many people had died on it, but
8 or something like that. Yeah, it wasn't very many.
But no, I don't think we were scared. Luckily, we're not scared of heights. We didn't go too far to the edge. We didn't do anything silly. There was one of the local guides was picking up litter on the way, which was just amazing. And he says he'd
done the hike 27 times in the that summer.
Wow!
All he does is literally pick up rubbish that people don't bring down with them. So he's just walking
a whole bin bag full of rubbish. It was shocking, really, but that was amazing. You just get little snippets of experiences that you then those stories then stick with you, and I think that's why we love travelling. Little things like that, isn't it?
But definitely recommend going up to the top of Pulpit Rock, and definitely recommend booking it yourself rather than not dissing P&O here, but it's a lot easier to.
You guys know the excursions are overpriced. So.
I was about to say, at the end of the day, you save so much money just figuring it out yourself and not booking through the cruise line. So I know, it's something we highly recommend, especially just do the research, figure out what you can do, what's easier to do by yourself.
There are certain times where it is better to go through the cruise line. It just depends on your itinerary and if you don't have a lot of time. It sounded like you guys had plenty of time to do the hike and you weren't stressed out about getting back. And so that's kind of where it's it makes sense to go do it by yourself. There's definitely some times where, I did St. Thomas, and that was one where, or we went to St. John. It just logistically would have been a nightmare if we did it on our own, and that's when we recommend doing it through the cruise line. But to your point, when you have plenty of time, you could save some serious money that you could put towards a drink package.
And quite a lot of people are, aren't you scared that you didn't know how you were getting back? You didn't have a plan. And we're sort of quite it'll work out. We've got this faith in everything that it'll be fine, and it always has been. Luckily, we've never been stranded. We've never, worst case, we would have got on the P&O excursion bus and just been pleaded, look after us. We're part of the ship.
We're going the baggage bit underneath. Just take it back. Yeah, but it was fine. It was all good.
It all works out in the end. It was brilliant.
Definitely a highlight, that one. Pulpit Rock. Even in all weathers, great.
All right, so let's move on to the next day of the cruise now. You were in Olden. This was your second stop now. From what we kind of saw of it, it looks more like a smaller village. What did you end up doing at this port for the day?
So we that pulling into Olden was our first real vision of seeing the fjord. So that was just amazing to see that. So everyone had got up early,
Yeah, we were up
that
early
morning. Ian went up to top deck, weren't you?
I was up there by 6:30 or
people
6
in their
o'clock or
pajamas
whatever,
with a morning coffee, watching the view. Like I just stayed on the balcony, the kids were sleeping, and it was just amazing. So it just sets the day off when you have an amazing view in the morning like that. And we'd pre-booked this one, didn't we, before we left the UK? So with Olden Adventures, we booked the Lowen Sky Lift. So it's a cable car taking you up to
Mount Hoven. So basically, it's the steepest cable car in the world.
Wow.
Which is fine going up. It's fine going up. It's very smooth. But on the way down, because our little boy, he wanted to go near the front, and I was stood probably in the second row from the front, and all the people at the front, obviously it goes back over the edge, and it's a little bit...
makes your tummy go.
Yeah, makes your tummy go funny, and it's a bit wobbly, but it was all good. But yeah, no, great views up at the top. And you could actually see the ship, even though it was like a little dot in the distance.
Okay. It was beautiful.
Again, that's another recommendation to definitely do. And
book privately.
Book on your own. And then after that, we went back and we walked around the shops near the cruise port, and we walked into the little village. As you say, it is just a little village. We went to the play park for the kids. And
it started raining.
It started raining, so we got back on the boat.
I think we probably went on a hot tub when we got back, to be honest. Knowing the kids, they were probably going to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, there is other excursions you can do, again, with Olden Adventures, like going to Riksdal Glacier on a troll car or walking it, and you can go fishing or kayaking, but obviously with 3 kids, you can't really...
We do always try and choose a family-friendly excursion or activity. Obviously, we can't take all of them kayaking. Some things just don't work. We can't always do what we might have chosen to do if it were just the 2 of us. But the benefit of having the grandparents with us, we can sometimes sneak off and do little things, just the 2 of us.
I think there's a hike on that. I think there might be like a hike you could do up there. Is that true? Like you could, maybe not, it's like a hiking plus like where you have like the clips and you can climb, and then you could do the car down, or you can like paraglide down.
Hoven.
Yeah, is that true? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, there is hiking trails up the top, and you can also do a zip line.
I was going to say zip line.
Zip wire up there, but I think that was shut. Yeah, because it was too windy. It was very. It was very windy up there when we got up there. Like we ended up putting coats and hats and stuff on because it was that cold. Up there.
There's a nice cafe.
But there's a nice cafe up there and a restaurant and stuff. But yeah, definitely recommended to do. But if you do it, maybe get off the boat straight away, because we were stood in the queue for for at least an hour and a half. Obviously, kids got bored, but yeah, once you get on the cable car up there, it's amazing. Again, amazing views of the fjords.
Or maybe wait and do it in the afternoon. We picked completely the wrong time. We were there in the crowds. Whereas that's the only thing about cruising, is that everything you're doing is with a huge number of people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good.
Yeah, really good.
In your port so far, how many other, were y'all the only ships at these ports, or were there other ships there with you?
I think we were the only ones.
So Olden definitely were the only one.
I think we only have one at a time.
Stefania.
And that was one of the things, there's this, people say, book an excursion through the cruise company, because if you're late back, they'll wait for you. We'd heard, and it was on the Facebook group, that with this Norwegian cruise, they do not wait for you, because there's a cost of getting to the next port on time. If that penalty apparently that is so big that it's worth leaving a passenger behind for, so it's actually not quite as we look after you as any other ship. So we were a little bit worried about that, but we always made sure we were on plenty of time anyway. But I think it is so regimented that they have to be at a certain port at a certain time, ready for the next ship to come in, because it's pretty much one in, one out. Although some
Gotcha.
places, I think it was one ship was there that week and that was it. Because one of the locals, I think it was in the next stop, Garanga, I'm sure it was, that, or Helisit, and he said, we do a month's worth of trade in one day when a cruise ship comes in. So
Wow.
that having the tourism
Crazy.
into our town is invaluable. And the week before, the weather had been so bad, they'd missed that stop. And it just, it's people's livelihood. So it's quite major for them.
That's awesome. It sounds like a great day in Olden. That would be one that I would definitely try to do. Like you said, like do the car or do a hike. It just looks so beautiful from the photos that I've seen. So your next stop was Garanger or Helsit? Is that correct? I feel like you gave me a little cheat on the pronunciation there.
Yeah, so it's Helisit, but it's very close to Garanga.
Garanga.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you guys end up doing at this port?
So we hadn't pre-booked anything on that port. We done a lot of research, seeing that there wasn't an awful lot to do, was there? We walked around. We got off the ship, walked around Helisit village, which didn't take very long. Looked at the waterfall, went to the supermarket just to see, like you hear Norway's really expensive. So we went, let's go and have a look how much strawberries are, or, something silly. Went to the tourist shops. And then we said, let's go and get the ferry to Garanga, because that's the main thing to do, is to leave Helisit, get a ferry going through the Norwegian Fjords and go to Garanga. So we did that, which was quite expensive. So we weren't sure whether to do it or not.
Yeah.
But it was worth it.
It was a beautiful scenery again, to just see waterfalls coming off a rock in the middle of a rock, and you're thinking, how does that work? But there's a waterfall coming down.
Yeah.
That was amazing. It's a really nice place, and we've already talked about hiring a camper van and going back, because there's campsites right on the edge of the fjord, and they just look amazing.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing to be at that campsite? Maybe we should plan a trip.
So no hot tubs though.
But again, there's other excursions you can do there while you're there. You could again do zip lining, kayaking, a few hiking, and there was also a local folk rock band that you can go and experience, that you can go and see. But again, we didn't do any of that. We just did the ferry and then went back to the ship, and probably went back to the hot tub for the kids.
How long would you say the ferry ride was? And then when you were over there in Geringer, how long were you over there for?
Ferry, maybe up to an hour?
About an hour.
45 minutes.
Yeah, definitely over 45 minutes.
Very slow, you're really taking the journey.
Yeah, you're taking in the views to get to Garanga, and then you could, obviously that's going every hour or whatever. There was 2 ferries, so you sort of cross paths while you're in the middle of the fjord. So
the timing of the one coming back would mean we'd have, I think they even said on the ship, don't get 3:00 journey back, because you're going to be running on the ship. So we were like, well, by the time we got there, we were like, if we get off, we're going to be really pushing it to get back. So we ended up actually just staying on the ferry and just going straight back. So we didn't get to, it was a shame that we hadn't organised ourselves a bit earlier and done that earlier in the morning, because we would have then got a chance to look around Garanga. And actually went later that afternoon, once everyone was on board, the captain said on the ship, there were 45 people that didn't listen to me and
oh my God.
did almost miss it, and we were 20 minutes late leaving because of it, and so people do it. But he wasn't happy.
Yeah, he wasn't happy at all. And he's actually going to Disney at the end of the year to be a captain on their ship now.
Wow. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so your final stop now was in Haugesund, which looks like another larger town in Norway and looks absolutely gorgeous. What did you guys end up doing here for the day?
So we hadn't pre-booked anything for this one either. So when we got off, we went straight to the sales desks when you get off, under a, what they call the canvas canopy thing.
Excursion, but it's not P&O. It's their own.
And we whatever, their own activities,
own brand.
So we queued up there and just said, what's great for kids to do? And they were like, your kids would love the Viking Planet Museum and a Viking farm. So we were like, great, let's go and do that. And it was brilliant. It was a guided boat tour as well.
Yeah.
At the museum, the kids learned, there's a whole bunch of families there, so the kids had a great time. And they learned about the Viking alphabet, they learned how to use Viking toys, what they wore, the clothes. Cool. It was a really
Swords.
good day.
Yeah,
swords.
Shields.
Which our son loved. yeah, yeah, that was really good. And then the Viking farm was like a little private island.
Yeah, basically
almost.
where they would have lived.
Wow.
And
All the buildings
like
were
the
original.
buildings were original,
Or
like made out of wood, made to be original, so they were made out of wood, and how they were built and stuff like that. And
there's a couple that actually live on there, don't they?
Yeah, there's a couple live there.
Live like Vikings. Yeah.
And they still live like the Vikings would.
Wow.
That's
Interesting.
crazy.
So that was pretty cool. And so that day was sort of for the kids more so than us.
But we enjoyed it. Actually.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
And then once we got back into the town,
we explored.
We explored down the town, and it's apparently one of the longest pedestrian streets in Norway.
So we just walked.
Town, so we just walked around there, and we actually got a bite to eat.
Yeah.
While we were out.
Kids went in the park.
Yeah, kids went in the park.
How is the food in Norway? Is it like a lot of fish? Like, what is the cuisine like in Norway? I'm just curious.
Yeah, they do like their fish up there. Yeah.
And I think they're the biggest exporters of salmon, tuna, or something. Oh, I've forgotten the stats now. But they're apparently like 80% of the world's salmon comes from Norway.
That's a lot, yeah.
So a lot of local cuisine. But the kids tend to be quite beige food eaters, so we've probably got some chips or something for them. And you don't eat fish, do you? So
no.
It's wasted on us.
There was also a Marilyn Monroe statue there because her father he came from Norway,
or
the grandfather.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty cool.
A statue of her there too.
It wasn't. I wouldn't recommend seeing that though. Like if we hadn't have gone.
Yeah, we wouldn't have missed it. It wouldn't have been a big deal if we'd have missed it.
It didn't really look like Marilyn Monroe at all, but it was almost funny to go and see it just to laugh about how it wasn't like Marilyn Monroe. So that was quite fun. But yeah, it was just about then just exploring that town and knowing that the next day was going to be a sea day, I think it was.
Yeah.
So it was sort of, let's make the most of it while we can because we're leaving Norway. And yeah, it's great.
No, that's awesome. It sounds like you had a great itinerary. Like I said, this is one that I've been looking at, and so thank you for the ideas, and hopefully those that are listening are like the same. If I ever go on a Norway fjord cruise, these are some really good options and things. Like you said, stay away from doing this, or if you're going to do the ferry, do it earlier so you have more time in Geringer. So that's pretty cool. But you kind of led us nicely into the sea day. So you had 2 sea days on this itinerary. You had one on the first day, one on the last day. So what did your typical sea day look like on this cruise for you and your family?
Because our day jobs, we're up early, so we always have a little bit of a lazier start on the sea day.
And it was really active.
And it was an active holiday.
The days at sea, the days in port were up and out, active, really busy. We were, so on the days where we were at sea, it was, let's wake up when naturally
without an alarm. So head out for breakfast, which we'd do in the main dining room or in the buffet. Again, kids want to go to the pools or the hot tubs. That's what they really love. That's what they really love to do. I mean, on the day, Claire took our eldest to a cartoon drawing class at the Crow's Nest on there, which they really enjoyed, and they did some really great pictures, which we've still got hung up. There was soft play area for the kids. I took my son to visit the basketball courts and the golfing area.
There's a jogging track on, I think it was deck 18, one of the top decks, and people were obviously exercising, jogging, but I walked our youngest round in her stroller to get her to sleep, and if you did 7 laps, it was a mile, so I tried to get my steps in. And then I think we went to the buffet for lunch, or I don't think we booked anything for lunch.
Yeah.
We had for dinner, didn't we? We booked in a main dining for dinner. The first sea day we did a speciality dining. We went to Sindhu, the Indian restaurant. And then I think that evening we saw a show at the theatre.
Yes. But there's lots to do on board. I mean, on the sea day, we also went to a science show for the kids, and that was quite entertaining for them. So they like that. And I mean, there was a kids club for the free ages that we have, but we didn't actually go into kids club. They didn't want to. They were more interested in going in a hot tub. So we didn't actually see what the kids club was like on P&O, but don't let that put you off.
Were there a lot of kids their age like on board this cruise? Like, how would you compare that to MSC? Like, were there like the same amount of kids? Were there less kids? Were there more compared to what you guys experienced in the past?
I'd say more.
I'd say, yeah, because it was our school summer holidays here, so it was a lot more
busy
children on board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and a lot more similar ages. I think when we were on MSC, I don't know if it was because of where the school holidays fell, but it felt like there was more younger toddler families, under fives. Really, we like when the kids made friends, it was with young kids, wasn't it? Whereas this was all ages, teenagers. There was lots of different age kids.
All right, well, let's kind of jump into some food now. I know you just said you did a specialty dining one night at an Indian restaurant. I know both of us love Indian
food.
And I feel like that's kind of, I mean, you don't see as many Indian restaurants on cruise ships, or at least the ones here in the States. So let's kind of talk about how y'all tackled your dining throughout the days. Let's start with breakfast and lunch. Where did you find yourself eating here throughout the day?
So we would usually have breakfast at the main dining restaurant. I think we went to the buffet. We went to the buffet maybe once or twice.
On the first sea day, I think we went to the buffet.
We just find it so stressful in a buffet.
There's too many people.
Too many crowds, too busy. By the time you're all back at your table, someone else needs to go and get something. Like, it's just not an enjoyable, relaxing experience for us. So we do much prefer main dining.
Me too.
To book the main dining was slightly different than we've ever had before. So we've always, especially for the evening meal, we've always had it where you get told where your restaurant is, you get told where your table is, it's at what time. And we didn't have that on this ship. It was called Freedom Dining. So you can book at any of the restaurants at any time. You just do it on the link that you like, the app that you have.
Okay.
Which I actually didn't like. I thought that we'd really like that because we would get to try lots of different places, but it ended up being sort of, I don't know why. I didn't like it. It was
the thing with
I think it was the staff.
The thing with that was different from our first cruise on MSC. On MSC, when we were actually given the time slot, you actually get to know your waiter and your head waiter.
You really build a rapport,
and you sort of you find out where they're from, and you how come they're on the ship and stuff like that, and
like the kids, they get to know what the kids like to eat. Like, it becomes a bit of you look forward to seeing them.
Whereas on P&O, again, no disrespect to P&O, but we just had a different waiter every time we went into a restaurant. It wasn't like you got to know them or anything like that, like on MSC. But obviously, this isn't a comparing. We're not trying to compare.
But you just naturally do, don't you? When you've been on previous trips.
I think that's good for you. Like, that's how I am too. Like, if I'm going to book specialty dining, I actually am at the point now where I prefer that I'm going to have the same table, same servers, because that's like the benefit of main dining. That's the benefit of doing main dining, is that you get to eat at the same table and have the same service. To your point, they learn your orders, they know what drinks you guys like, they know the kids, you like talk about your day, and that's like the best part of it. So if you take that away, I feel like I totally get that. It's not as nice as it would be if you just had like the same table.
Yeah, it was exactly that. So yeah, the choice wasn't actually something we enjoyed. And I think as humans, we're creatures of habit. You like to go to the same place at the same time to know what to expect. So we did have a lot of choice. And in the end, I think it was on like day 2, I was like, right, I'm just going to book us breakfast, lunch and dinner, or breakfast and dinner definitely at main dinings. We're going at that one at that time, this one at this time. And I just had it all planned out because it being a party of 7, it was quite hard to just turn up and expect to have a table ready. So, which was an option. If you had just been a table of 2, you could have just joined a virtual link or a virtual queue, I think it was, and they message you when your table's ready, and you just go to the restaurant that they give you or you've requested. Whereas with us, it paid to be organised, so I just booked everything for the week then. So yeah, breakfast we did usually go to main dining, didn't we? And then lunchtimes. If it was a sea day, I think we went to the buffet or grabbed something somewhere. It was quite, we better go and get something to eat. We went to the Keys a couple of times, which did fish and chips, burgers, like an Asian fusion place.
Nice.
There was Ripples, which was an ice cream shop which did fancy coffees and afternoon teas, things like that. Was quite nice.
Gelato afternoon tea if you're into gelato. So
oh yeah,
so there was that. But also with us, we've got 3 allergens in our party. So Claire's allergic to nuts. I've got a dairy lactose intolerance, and my dad is gluten free. So
we're a nightmare. We're going booking tables.
So as like in the buffet on P&O, it was actually really good because they had all the signs where you could see what was happening. Whereas on MSC,
what was included in each dish.
On the MSC ship, we were told there was no signs in the buffet, and we weren't allowed to eat in the buffet. We were just told you've got to stick to your main dining.
They said on the first day, the buffet is not for you.
Yeah, the buffet is not for you.
Oh my gosh!
I see him. He was like, "Well, we've paid all this money, and we told you we had these allergens before we came," and they was like, "No, you've just got to stick to main dining, and that is it."
Oh man!
So
that's
on
crazy.
P&O, that was great to have the signs, and you could see what you were getting, and also they had like 4 allergy people. They had a special section, like a dietary section, where they had stuff just for the specific diet in the buffet area. So we'd often maybe eat in the main dining, and if we didn't like something on the pudding menu, dessert menu or something, we'd go to the buffet and then get something from the dietary section, because we could actually eat something that we fancied from the diet section of the buffet. So that actually worked out really well.
There was also a member of staff in, I can't remember the colour, say bright green or something, that said, "I'm here to help." So you could grab that person and they would take you through what you could eat. So that, in that respect, we cannot fault P&O. They were brilliant when it came to allergies.
It's funny because like whenever someone we book cruises, and whenever someone's like, "Hey, I've got allergies," we actually recommend that they go to the buffet, because like on the cruises that we've been on, and it's different. MSC may be a little bit different in the U.S., but like Royal and Carnival, it's like honestly a really good spot for people that do have allergies, because there's so much food you can eat, and there's like even I was just on Icon or Utopia, they literally have a whole back section for gluten free, and it's like, that's crazy. Like if you have gluten-free allergies, you've got like a whole buffet line that you can eat from, which is like cool. So that was actually a little shocking that MSC was like that, because that's usually where we're like, you should go eat in the buffet, because there's literally so much option. If you just want vegetables or meat, like there's so much options that you can choose from. Now, I do have a question on the specialty dining. So I know you guys were saying that you ate at the Indian restaurant. You may have done like a date night. How did the quality of the food and the experience and like the service differ from the main dining room from like the specialty restaurants? I imagine there was an upcharge for the specialty. Was it worth it, or what did you guys think on that end?
Yeah, I mean, we went to Sindhu, the Indian cuisine, and we also went to Keel and Cow, which was like a steak restaurant. And I mean, the service was great. The food was great. You can't fault the food, really. I mean, the service was what you'd expect. So on the P&O app, you can book specialty dining 2 weeks before you get on board. So that's what we ended up doing 2 weeks. So on the Facebook group, we were told to stay up till midnight, because then everyone goes on like at midnight to book their slots for the specialty dining. So we didn't actually do that. We just did it the next morning, on the Saturday morning, and booked Sindhu and Keel and Cow. And yeah, they were really good. Yeah, great food, great steak, great Indian cuisine. And again, they catered for the allergies that we both have. So
it's nice to do something different as well. Yeah. Like you do get a little bit bored of, like, especially if you're on a longer cruise, of going to the same place, having the same sort of food. So it's nice to mix it up. We always do a couple of specialities, don't we? Try to.
Yeah.
What about the kids? I mean, the kids, how did they feel like the food was for them in the main dining room? I imagine you guys ate with your kids every night. I know that like on some of the U.S. cruise lines, they have like family dining where you'll like eat with your kids earlier, and then they'll come and actually grab your kids from the dining room, which is really cool, and take them to the kids club. But your kids were more in the jacuzzi club than the kids club. No, I'm just kidding. But like, how did they like the food on board? Did they feel like, they had good options for the kids as well compared to other cruises you've been on?
Yeah, the kids' menus were great. They, I think think it was a bit samey. Maybe they were a little bit like, oh, this again. Whereas on MSC, I remember it changing daily. They had quite a good option, but the buffet was great for the kids. There was a whole kids section. They had a buffet time that was just for the kids buffet. So from 5 till 5:45 was children only, and if you were an adult in there, they chucked you out. It was quite strict. And it was brilliant. It was kids' food, and it was kids' themed plates. There was a Wallace and Gromit theme, which is like a British cartoon thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Magician,
Wallace and Gromit.
Magician going round as well. I got told off because obviously our youngest is only 3, so she was sat at the table. So the big 2 were just off getting their food. So I was actually putting stuff on the plate for our youngest, and the guy came up to me. He was like, "You can't eat here." I was like, "I'm just getting stuff for the youngest." But
that's hilarious.
yeah, no, it was great that they were like, "No, you can't. Adults can't eat there. Like this is for kids only."
And the kids, they did eat with us every night. We don't, because they're not into the kids club. Like, we wouldn't mind if they did like the kids club. That would be fine by us.
And we feel that it's important to eat as a family as well.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And there was always something that they could have. And sometimes we might take them to the buffet. They'd eat early, and then they'd come for a dinner with us, or we just figure it out. We like them joining us, and we try and have a family dinner at home. So we just copy that when we're on holiday.
Yeah, it's funny you make that comment about the kids buffet, because when I was on MSC a couple of months ago, they also had like a little kids buffet set up, and it almost had like its own little small little doorway you entered and all that.
That's
and
it,
I would see adults kind of pop in there, and I mean, most of the options were basic, but I think they'd have like some mozzarella sticks or like stuff you just wouldn't see elsewhere. And I'm like, maybe I'll sneak in and group. But then I was like, nah, I'm not trying to get yelled at for
the
being
little
in there.
dino nuggets.
Yeah.
It's great. When we were on MSC, there was a small like archway that only children could fit through. They went through this archway. It was all sectioned off for them. And if adults tried to, they would tell you off. So it was, and it was fun for the kids. They loved doing it. They've got small little cutlery. They've got themed cups and plates. Okay. So it was a really fun experience for them, wasn't it? It was great. It was really good.
That's neat. Well, let's kind of pivot a little to talk about some other add-ons. So, I mean, when you have your cruises, people add things like drink packages, spa packages, Wi-Fi. Did you end up adding anything extra onto your cruise here?
No, we didn't. And on our previous ship on MSC, we had the drinks package, and then we soon realised that we were not getting our money's worth with it. We're not big drinkers. We might have had one drink with a meal, and I think for those sort of packages, you need to be really going for it. and we don't. So we ended up on this one saying, let's not get a drinks package. Let's just use our onboard spend to pay as you go when we wanted a drink or wanted a coffee or whatever it was. And we did that, and it was fine, wasn't it? It worked really well. We didn't do the Wi-Fi package either. We quite enjoyed disconnecting for a few days and being offline and off the grid. For that Norway trip, we did, for the first time, try eSIMs, which we really, really worked well. So every time we were in a port, we would turn on the eSIM data and then get the internet that way. And and it is handy having internet, like when we're trying to get an Uber, or we're looking for a map, or there's certain times when it is hard not having any internet at all. So, but on the actual ship, we just disconnected completely, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I think that eSIM, we haven't talked about it a lot, maybe on our European Mediterranean series, but I feel like that is something that I do recommend, especially if you don't really need it for the cruise, but you're in a lot of ports and you don't have a lot of sea days, then it is really worth it, to your point. But now let's kind of pivot over to entertainment, right? This is one of our favorite things. We talked about a lot in terms of the shows and the music on board and comedy and all that. How was the entertainment on board the P&O Iona? Was there a lot of options in terms of entertainment? Were the kids really engaged as well with the entertainment options that they had?
Yeah, it was so good. There was so much to do. We almost got a bit of FOMO, that you couldn't do it all, that you can't physically get to all the places you want to. There's things going on at the same time that you want to be at. The shows, the evening shows in the theatre were brilliant, and we ended up seeing every single show, and the kids loved it. And it was perfect time. Time was in, it was 7:00, they weren't too tired, but it was also only a 40-minute show. So it kept their attention just long enough. Whereas, kids, if we took them to London to see a show, they just wouldn't. It's not always going to work well. So that was brilliant. We did see that. We even the props and the lights and the whole thing of the show was such good quality. They obviously really have a massive budget because it was a great entertainment.
Yeah.
It's just like a West End show in London. It was really good. And there was lots going on elsewhere around the ship at the same time, or at different times of the day. There was things going on in the Sky Dome above the swimming pool, with like acrobats. Gymnastics, on those hoops, people going up high on hoops and all that sort of thing, which was brilliant.
There's a cinema on board that you can use, and they have 4 screens, so you can go in there any time. Well, it's not any time of the day. There's set times, but it's going most of the day. There's a distillery on board that you can go to. Wow. A library, yeah. And then again, you've got like George the Busker. He'd be on a random deck singing his songs, and one night we actually went to the Headliners Theatre, watched the show, and then we went and watched George the Busker.
He was in the atrium, wasn't he?
He was in the atrium, yeah. And
shouting out songs at him.
Our kids actually wrote him a playlist, and he was like, "I've never had a playlist before." So then he was like, "I know most of those songs," so he was like, "Okay, I'll do that for you," and that was that. And then there was like the Limelight Club, which is more based for adults. We didn't actually get there, and the 710 Club. And if there's any Take That fans on, Gary Barlow is the music director.
He's partnered up with
he's partnered up or something with the 710 Club. And actually, the week after we got off the ship, he boarded the ship. So there would have been a lot of excited Take That fans
I would
on.
love that. That would have been
brilliant.
but you could have done like a 3-course meal and had live music show. I think as a speciality dinner, you had to pay for it, and it was quite pricey.
Okay.
But I think for the experience, that would have been brilliant. But because of having the kids and bedtimes and things like that, we didn't get to see a lot of the stuff that happened later on. And also, you're exhausted. You've done a full day in a port. You've done loads of walking or a hike, or most of the time we had dinner and weren't really far behind the kids going to bed. We were tired, knowing that you had to get up early the next day as well. So there was a lot going on, but we unfortunately didn't get to see it all.
We didn't come across, or we were aware of, any comedy shows like we were on the MSC when we went on there, so we didn't actually see any of that.
And there's loads of stuff for kids. Like, kids had a great time at the evening shows, but there was also lots of kids activities on the sea days or early evenings, kids discos. There was loads going on.
There was a chessboard, a large chessboard on one of the decks, and a Jenga, so they could play that, and like there was garden games and stuff. So there was plenty to do on P&O, definitely.
And I think because the weather's not always going to be great, so whereas going around the Caribbean, a lot of people just sunbathe on sea days or they enjoy the weather, whereas they have to put on more activities because the weather's not always going to be great in Norway. So and they did very well.
And you can get 4 different seasons in one day on going up there. So definitely pack you for all layers.
Yeah.
And we say that here in Charlotte too, in North Carolina, that times of the year you can get all 4 seasons in a day. So I mean,
it's literally 49 degrees today, and then it says the high is 80, and that's like a very big difference in the Fahrenheit.
So it sounds like entertainment was great. Let's kind of talk about the ship layout a little. Like Frank said at the start, this is an XL class of ship. Now, I've sailed both Carnival, Mardi Gras, and Celebration, so I feel like I have a good idea of what Carnival does with the layout overall. I meant to watch like a walkthrough of this ship just to kind of tell some of the differences for like me, like knowing what's where on the ship to see how things compare. But as far as like crowds while on board, whether before events, after events, how did you feel? Were there did it feel crowded? Did it feel well dispersed around the ship? How did the layout seem overall?
I think at times you were aware of how busy it was. Like as everyone's leaving the theatre or leaving dinner or something, suddenly there's a large group of crowds. But on the whole, I think it was really well dispersed. I think there was a lot going on, so a lot of people were in different areas of the ship. The only thing I think with the lifts, the elevators, just didn't work. There was so much of on
pushing
the MS, pushing in, and I think where on the MSC ship you would press your lift number on the outside of the ship, the outside of the lift, and then it would take everyone on deck 9 going up to deck 9, whereas this everyone was going all over the place, and it just it was slow on the lift, and we had a stroller with us, so an elderly grandparent, so we were often using the elevators, and it just didn't work as well for us, did it? That got quite annoying.
Yeah, and as I say, people were you'd be waiting at the door for the elevator, and then someone would just zip in and be like, "Yeah, thanks very much," and then you can't get on. And it's like, great, we've been waiting here for like 2 minutes, and then you've zipped in, and you're like, oh.
I think during summer holidays it was busy. There's lots of families around. Sea days, you always notice how busy it is. I think it didn't put us off. It wasn't too much, but we were aware it was busy.
And obviously on the sea day, when the sun was out, it was on one side of the ship, so the whole side with the sun was pretty much busy, and you could walk. we walked around the other side, and it was in the shade, and there was nobody on a sunbed lounger or in a hot tub that side at all. So if you don't mind the cold, you could have gone that side and you could have been had the whole place to yourself. But because of the sun, and it's few and far between here in the UK and Europe, you have to make the most of it when you can.
Now, I know they had the Sky Dome on here, and then when I looked at the pictures of the ship and was doing some research, I saw that that's a big difference between like the Mardi Gras and like what we have on Carnival versus what P&O has. It looks like this is like a big kind of dome that has pools and hot tubs, but you also said they did some entertainment. Is that a good synopsis of like the area? And did you feel like you used the Sky Dome a lot when you were on board, or was it kind of just like that was where most people were on sea days and it was pretty crowded and whatnot?
Yeah, we didn't use it an awful lot.
We did use it
now and again, but
a couple of times.
Did the roof come back? Was it retractable?
No. The floor of the swimming pool was retractable for the acrobats.
It became
became sort of a stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a great centre place for performances, but I don't think we used it a whole lot. We sort of used. I remember walking through it a lot.
We walked through it.
Towards the back of the front.
Also, another good thing for P&O that in that area was they have refillable water stations scattered around on the decks, and one of them was actually in the Sky Dome. So take your plastic water bottles with you, and then you can just top up, which was great.
But yeah, I think that's a good synopsis of it. It is like a good central place that there was a swimming pool. I'm not sure if that was the main swimming pool that got used. There was an infinity pool at the back with hot tubs. Hot tubs were always really busy. There were massive I think it was about 8 hot tubs. They were really busy. There was a few along the sides, like the long hot tubs, whatever they're called.
There was another ice cream shop in there called Sundays, and there was also another pizza joint like there as well.
Food that you could grab. So it was popular for families in there. It was.
And there was floor to ceiling glass, so you could sit and watch out to sea. Or
it's warm. Really
warm, it was like humid inside there, but yeah, really like a central place for people. I can imagine
if it rained or if it was a really bad weather day, that would have been the place you go.
Yeah.
But we were mainly outside, weren't we?
Yeah.
Now, how about any other type? I know you said the ship kind of felt real British at the start. Was there anything else that kind of felt unique to P&O compared to like MSC?
Yeah, there were a lot. Now I think about it, actually, there were a lot of British touches on the ship, which I didn't really appreciate at the time, but there were a lot. So for me, the main one is having a kettle in your room. So that was cool. That was like being British. We love our tea. And it meant we could have a cup of tea whenever we went back to the room, or coffee first thing in the morning. That was really nice. And I really missed that on the MSC, not like having to get ready, having to leave your room to go and get a coffee. It was just lovely to be able to have it in bed, or last thing at night, we have a cup of tea before we go to bed. So that was really nice. We liked that. There was afternoon tea, like we said, that's another British thing. The captain was British, and like they would do the announcements in English and then translate, if they even translated. I can't remember if they did.
I think they did, yeah.
There was lots of like movie star photos around the ship. Like there was a picture of Helen Mirren on the ship. They were all British movie stars. So that was quite nice touches. The
refillable water stations.
Costa Coffee did. They didn't do any takeaway cups. There was like a sustainable element there. Okay. So they asked you to buy a travel mug. So when people got coffee, when they got off at a port day, they would often have a P&O mug or something. So maybe as a tip, make sure you pack your own travel mug. I think for British things, that's probably about it, isn't it?
Yeah, and also they did free laundry facilities, so you had your own washer and dryer.
Oh, that's nice.
That was so good.
So that was good for obviously a family of 5.
I think there was a few on different decks. It wasn't like your own.
So
in the room.
and so yeah, you'd often. Well, we did it once, and you could use it, which was obviously a bonus that you don't have to pay for it.
And being a family, kids have accidents or they're ill or they're sick or whatever. Like, it's just handy to be able to clean things. We always take travel wash with us when we're travelling, but to be able to actually wash all our clothes, come home with clean clothes was really quite nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that was busy. It was busy.
Yeah, that was busy.
I met a lot of other parents in there.
And the brand, like the shampoo and shower gel, was based from the White Company, which is British as well. You often see that on British Airways if you're flying. But they were definitely strict on the dress code.
Interesting.
Definitely strict. I went into one of the restaurants in shorts, and they was like, "No, you're going to have to go and get changed. You can't come in."
Oh my gosh.
So was that an every night thing, or just like the formal night, gala night, whatever they call it, or was that like every?
That was every night. That was,
wow.
It could be on a theme night or not. You have men have to wear the trousers.
Apart from the buffet.
I think it was. But yeah, it was very strict.
I like that. I feel like a lot of the cruises that we go on, it's pretty casual. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, it's honestly hard for me to pack for cruises now, which sounds stupid because I've been on 25 cruises, but I'm like, okay, do I do shorts because I know I can wear shorts, or do I do pants because I know they're not gonna if they somehow crack down on this one cruise, you know what I mean?
Gotta have it, yeah.
It's hard to pack because
I'm all for wearing shorts rather than trousers, but yeah, it's I didn't like that, but obviously that's their rule, so we had to stick to it.
And there weren't many theme nights. Like on the MSC ship, there was a white night and a
Hawaiian
evening and an Italian night.
Yeah.
And there was literally just celebration evening, gala night, and that was it. So, but that's fine. That was okay for us. We didn't mind.
Yeah, and we weren't. We didn't really get dressed up, did we? On it, we did on MSC, but on this one, we thought it was just too much to take in the luggage, so we didn't bother. But yeah, I mean.
A lot of people do. They go all out, and it's lovely. You can get some really nice photos. I didn't see a professional photographer going around. I don't think.
No.
Whereas on MSC, you get
you're like everywhere was
constant, wasn't it?
Always cameras on my tip. I feel like I always see them taking photos, especially on the formal nights. It's like everywhere, everyone is taking photos.
So let's go talk about service a little here. How did you feel like the service was on board at the Iona? Talking about your dining room staff, your room attendants, if you had to go to guest services at all, were they friendly? How was the service?
You can't fault the service at all. And most of them were on the ship for 8 months.
I don't know if I'd still be smiling after being on a ship that long. Still be friendly and as great as they are. So yeah,
they always had a smile on their face. Despite being away from their families or whatever they've come from, so yeah, you can't fault that really.
Everyone's polite and helpful. Yeah, really great service everywhere. We didn't come across anything awful, anything bad at all.
No,
really good.
Again, it's just a shame you get different staff every day in the dining, whereas on MSC you sort of get to know, but. We got
to know our cabin attendant.
Yeah, cabin attendant. He was great. But you can't fault it at all, really.
Yeah, it was great. Really good.
And we left a tip for our cabin steward.
Well, we'd heard that P&O were one of the lowest gratuity cruise lines, and we just think it doesn't take a lot to show your appreciation, and I think as well, being British, we're less a tipping culture over here,
right?
But we like to just show our appreciation that way,
especially with 3 kids in the room, destroying the room and stuff.
Oh my gosh!
It's having to put the bunk beds up and all that hard work. It's just and it's for me being like the mum at home, constantly cleaning, constantly. It's so nice to have a break and not have to be cleaning the room up and. Walking away from the mess at the dining room, and it's just lovely. So yeah, we do try and show our appreciation that way.
There's a whole conversation and like debate right now. Royal just upped theirs in the US, I think like 50 cents, not much, but there's a whole conversation right now because they like customers feel like they should just wrap it into the cost. Other people are like, I like to, if you have bad service, you can go to the guest services and lower it, or say I want to put more towards the dining staff than my room person because I never saw them. You can, like people, there's a whole debate right now. So it's very interesting to hear you guys talk about it. A lot of the international guests are saying they want it included, and it's just a whole back and forth. I don't have like a what I prefer. I mean, I think from like an advertising standpoint, they get to advertise a lower cost of the cruise, which like gets your attention. But then when you get on board, if you have a large family, the tips do add up per day. It really does become a lot. So there's a whole conversation on it right now that's happening. So it is interesting to kind of hear your take on it as well.
Yeah, I think we'd be less inclined to book a cruise line where we had to then pay gratuities as a lump sum. Maybe because there's so many of us, or because we're British. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I definitely would rather it be included. And then as a personal choice, we pay extra if we want to, if we feel the service was exceptional, which it usually is on a cruise. Like it's some of the best service we've ever had, like any restaurants ever, hasn't it? It is really good. Really good.
So let's kind of move into disembarkation now. So your cruise has come back to an end. You're back at Southampton. How was the disembarkation process overall here and getting off the ship?
It was very smooth. It ran very smoothly. The night before, we were told to put our bags out outside our rooms, and they'd collect the bags. So we kept our small carry-on case and put all our other stuff into the case that was going out. And then so we woke up in the first morning or the last morning, went to the main dining room, and then we just waited for our shout-out time.
Our time slot we were given. So we went to the area that they told us to go, and they said we were ahead of schedule, so we could just get off, and that's what we did. So we went through, collected our bags, and there was no you didn't have to show your passport or anything when you got off back into Southampton, so it just went very smoothly. Get straight outside, got in an Uber, got back to the car. It's just so smooth. Like the luggage is there where the number is that's matching your number on your cruise card or whatever. Like, it's just so well organised how they get that many people's luggage on and off within a really short time frame. It really is quite an amazing thing that they do.
It's crazy.
And there was no delays that we know of. Like, when you go through an airport, oh, sorry, someone's baggage or something like that. We didn't hear of any of that. So it was just super smooth.
Great. Really good.
And it makes sense. You guys are checking, like we normally just walk off with our stuff because it's just the two of us, or we're with our families or whatever. So like for you guys with all the kids, it's probably like you can't keep them accountable for rolling their stuff. So it's probably much easier just to like be like, I'm just going to put this stuff outside. They do that. They bring it down for you, which is a really nice service. Again, I haven't done that in a long time just because I usually have one or two bags. My wife and I roll them down. But when you have that many kids, it is something that is like, or you have people that are older, right? Like you're traveling with your parents. It just makes it so much easier, and it's just a nice added service.
It did, exactly. It was exactly that. Like we had, grandparents with us. We had a stroller. We had 3 kids to try and get organised. It just makes one less thing to have to think about. It was really easy. It's great. Yeah,
and we tend to like to travel sometimes with a big backpack, so we're hands-free. But obviously on this, we went with suitcases.
That's the other thing we didn't mention, that there was no restriction on weight or number of cases because we were just walking on. Whereas, of course, if you fly, you then have that restriction there. So that was really handy that we could just...
Yeah, and also we heard on the group that you can actually drop your bags off like at 9 o'clock in the morning if you wanted, and then go and explore around Southampton and then come back. So there was no restriction on dropping your bags off either. You could drop them off at any time and then...
Which I'm sure is
go
the
and
same in the States, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome. That is a nice thing. Cruising is great for people that are heavy packers like myself, and I think you're like that too, Michael.
Always overpack,
You can bring as many bags as you want versus you're flying somewhere, you're limited to one checked bag and how many pounds or kilos you have to, fit within, or else you get charged. Yeah. So that's awesome. Glad that you had a really smooth disembarkation process. So now let's kind of wrap up final thoughts, right? So you spent 7 days on board this beautiful ship. What did you guys think in terms of overall, you've been on a lot of trips, you've done a lot of traveling. How would you compare this to other trips and vacation that you've done in the past? And then, are you, going to continue to book P&O? Or are you going to maybe venture out and try other cruise lines? And for someone like myself that's looking to book like a Norwegian Fjord, do you think that it's worth booking it through the cruise, or would you recommend maybe doing it on your own? I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Well, we really rate cruising. Like it works so well for us. It's such a good holiday. It's just a bit expensive. That's probably the only thing that puts us off a little bit, especially if we have to fly somewhere and then get on the ship. It's just that added cost. But we do love it. We love exploring new places. Having a new destination every day is brilliant, even if it's just like a taster of somewhere, so that we can then go, oh, that's a country I'd like to go back to, or that's somewhere we want to go back to one day.
More for us, it's more the destination than the cruise itself. Obviously, we love the cruise, but for us, it's the destination. But it's
great. It's good value for money.
Yeah, great value for money. Really can't think of anything that we would have done differently. Really enjoyed every minute of the cruise.
We've looked into different cruises in the future. Maybe like we'd love to do a Disney cruise, but that's just double the price of any other cruise. Yeah. But we did look at that, but it's the destinations weren't quite as good as another trip.
Yeah, and they do one here from the UK also, but it's so expensive, Disney. But we've looked at we'd love to do a Royal Caribbean, because we've heard from you guys that it's very friendly, family orientated. Our son, he wants to go to Madagascar. He's got this big thing about going to Madagascar. So we've actually looked at a Norwegian cruise that goes from South Africa and then over to Madagascar and Mauritius. So maybe
that'd be so cool.
We'll have a look at that. Yeah, we're always looking. Or we would really like to go to Japan. So maybe a cruise in Asia. Yeah. Whether it be Japan or from Singapore to Vietnam or something like that.
But we definitely recommend the Norwegian cruise.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It was like we've been to some amazing scenery before, like Canada, New Zealand, Scotland. And it was all that scenery rolled into one. It was just gorgeous, like Iceland. Like it was all just it's stunning. Definitely recommend joining a Facebook group. You get so many tips in advance before your trip. And the people even used it to arrange meetups for teenagers, and single people were meeting up. And, it's a great place to make a community before you even get on board. And for an active holiday, if you like hiking or kayaking or whatever, then the Norwegian Fjords are perfect. It's a lot going on.
And it's just a beautiful country, Norway. We heard things about it, but we weren't like so sure about. But going. It was, amazing country. Now we really want to go back. It's one of the places we really want to go back to.
See more.
See more.
Maybe go up north. Because some of the cruises do go a bit further.
Yeah, some of the cruises go further north, up to like Tromsø or somewhere like that in the Arctic Circle. So that would be amazing. And they also go to Flam and Bergen. Which looks really cool.
Maybe we'll do a camper van.
But maybe
a cruise one day. Who knows?
So we'll definitely pack for all seasons if you're going to Norway, because you get all 4 weathers in one day.
Yeah. And book the excursions privately if you can. Like if it works for you and you're not someone that gets stressed easily or likes to have if you're that way inclined, then it really works. It worked for us.
Yeah, definitely worked for us. That in Norway, it was great. And also being in one country, so if you did miss the boat, you could actually get to the next place fairly easly, I would imagine. Whereas when we were on the MSC, someone did actually miss the cruise
in the Bahamas,
from the Bahamas over to Puerto Rico. And they missed the ship, so I don't know how they flew over, I guess, to the next place to get back on. So there is that in respect of if you do miss the ship, you could easily travel to the next place, but not that you should miss the...
hopefully no one misses the cruise.
That
is not a fun time. Well, it sounds amazing. Thank you guys. I mean, seriously, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know that this is a longer one. We really, really appreciate your in-depth review of Norway. It sounds incredible. I know myself, I'm going to be like going back, like I said, listening to this again in the next couple of months and hopefully booking my own Norway fjord cruise. So maybe I'll have to come by and see you guys in person. But no, this is awesome. Thank you so much, Ian and Claire. And again, go follow them on Instagram. They have their whole, like, you guys are doing a ton of travel. So go check them out. The High Flying Kite family on Instagram. I don't know why I stumbled over that twice in a row.
Well,
the High Flying.
Our last name is Kite, so it just made sense that if we're going to be getting around on planes, then we'd be the High Flying Kite family. Yeah. We're just about to go to Albania in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Road tripping through Albania in 2 weeks' time with my nephew and his soon-to-be wife, with the kids. So we've got that to look forward to. So yeah, maybe a cruise in the future. We'll definitely look into it. Oh, we've been looking into it.
Thanks for having us.
But yeah, thanks for having us. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, we love listening to you guys every Wednesday. Yeah.
And we'll see you back on. We'll get you back on after your next cruise. So just make sure you let us know, and we'll pull you back on.
Yeah, love to do that. Love to do that. Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Well, hey, we just want to say thanks to Ian and Claire again for coming on the podcast this week to talk about their recent cruise. It was great kind of just, hearing about Norway. And I mean, it's we're always talking Caribbean, Frank. So it's nice just to hear something different and just, it sounds beautiful. And I can't wait to hopefully sail out there again someday. Hey, if you're ready to book your upcoming cruise, reach out to us. You can fill out the jot form in our bio or shoot us a text at
704-313-8556.
We'd love to pull some quotes for you and really just to be able to be there for you, support you, and get you the best rates for your sailing and provide some extra onboard credit as well. If you have any questions for a future question and answer segment of the podcast, make sure to either DM us or drop them below on Spotify. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday.